Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Friday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather, and sports. I am Glenora Shipura.
And I'm Esther Kamati.
Well, it's great to have you on the show, Esther Kamati.
Thank you.
Getting into the news today, the Ministry of Defense and Veterans Affairs today held a handover ceremony of the completed medical school teaching facility and vocational training center students' accommodation from the German Armed Forces Technical Advisory Group. This achievement aligns with the 8th Equipment Aid Program Agreement, strengthening the bilateral cooperation between Namibia and Germany. The expansion of the medical school initiated in 2019 included the introduction of a 2-year diploma course, Level 5, accredited by the Health Professional Council of Namibia. The success of this project reflects the fruitful collaboration between the two countries, enhancing NDF's capacity. Dr. Thorsten Hatter, Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany, had this to say. Let's take a look.
The facility has been constructed to accommodate the NDF classes. Starting next year, and next year, as we all know, is around the corner, you will be able to offer new courses, a higher certificate in environmental health and a certificate in enrolled nurse. The handing over of this training facility as well as of the 3rd student accommodation unit is a major milestone in our bilateral cooperation. It will broaden the capabilities of the Namibia Defense Force. It will enable the NDF to contribute to international missions in the framework of SADC or the AU, or to assist nationally in cases of disaster. I am sure that both the Namibia Defense Force and GovTech are proud of their achievement today and ready to use this potential in future. And let me add, I want to thank everyone in the NDF and GovTech who made this possible. We all know that armed forces and soldiers will be needed in future. As much as all of us wish for peace and for a peaceful settlement of disputes. At this point, I want to pay tribute to soldiers who are protecting their country, even in Europe, from outside aggression.
Well, it's great to see that Namibia is embracing vocational and skill training. What's your take on this collaboration between Germany and Namibia?
I think it's definitely an amazing opportunity for young people. Seeing the situation in Namibia, obviously the youth are desperate for opportunities, so to say, and for Germany and Namibia to actually collaborate, and for us to see the impact and the effects of this collaboration is truly something to celebrate. So I'm glad that we're also embracing skills training and vocational training, because at the end of the day, these are valuable skills that we're applying into Namibia. So it's definitely something to celebrate.
And I think it's high time, I think societies and communities and household levels start embracing this. Because, you know, when a child says, I want to pursue this career in the vocational field, it's almost, you know, looked down upon. So when you're seeing this at that level, you know.
And the fact that they also are implementing new diploma courses and new short courses as well.
Well, getting into our next story, Namibian Society of Composers and Authors of Music this morning held a press conference to announce significant organizational changes aimed at improving efficiency and effectiveness in delivering exceptional services to valued members and stakeholders. Addressing journalists, NASCAM Chief Executive Officer Albert Nicanor shared that the board started their work under the theme Unpacking and Rebuilding the Institution, with the primary objective to expanding NASCAM market reach and maximizing royalty collection by ensuring that all potential market license users are targeted, leading to a significant increase in royalties distribution. Let's take a look.
So the board started their work under the theme Unpacking and Rebuilding NASCAM, with a primary objective to expanding NASCAM market reach and maximizing royalty collection by ensuring that all potential market license users are targeted, leading to a significant increase in our royalty distribution. It is very key. One of our key functions, not just the only one, is to make sure that we collect and distribute royalties. our main function is to make sure that we protect the rights, but this objective is very key as well. We want to ensure there is growth. So in the future, we want to move that, we want to be able to track to say, I want to actually to continue to hold us accountable and say, okay, you juxtapose NASCAM before the new board and maybe after the new board's term, and then you can see what are the changes that has been coming through. That is key and important for you to be able to track progress in NASCAM's growth. So the board has also made a strategic decision to appoint a chief executive officer, that is me. Since August, I came on board, and I've been on board, and my extensive experience in strategic planning and vision and execution was the key reason why the board has chosen to take me on board. As a result of the new CEO's rotation, is being directed towards.
I think this is a long overdue discussion because Namibian artists do not receive as much on royalties as they should. What's your take on this?
Certainly with the new management, we can see that they're trying to kind of rebuild NASCAM and the trust that artists had once upon a time in the institution, because with discussions with artists before, you could see that they kind of lost trust in the institution in terms of representing them and all the struggles that artists face in the country. So it's great to see such bodies kind of rebuilding that trust and making sure that the artists understand that their issues are being taken into account as well. And the issue of royalties is definitely one to look at because this is somebody's bread and butter and we can't just leave the issue as it is. So it's certainly a great discussion that should definitely be had.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm not going to mention the entity, but a few years back I realized that some of these companies that would sell music, you know, whether it's CDs or whatever in Namibia, were not selling Namibian products. And so they talked about like it's a thing of, you know, they are operating because it's a company from another country, so they work within the rules of that country. But then this is where NASCAM comes in and protects Namibian artists so that they have a platform to showcase their music, and so it's easier for us also, like, okay, there's a big band album out there, I can go get it, etc. So those are kind of the things that were issues. I hope they're still being rectified, and this kind of discussions is what's needed, you know, to help move the music industry forward. Now getting into our next story, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Namibia pastor and former SWAPO party councillor Reverend Hendrik Shudeni, who was accused of allegedly having anal sex with a young man in exchange for a job in the Namibian police, has been relieved of his duties. The church decided to dismiss him from his job as a pastor, a decision informed by the constitution of the Elsen Church under Section 86. That part of the constitution talks about devaluing the holiness of the job of a pastor and how he should carry himself in line of that sacred duty. This was confirmed by Gideon Nitenge, the leader of the LCN Western Diocese, who also sat part of the disciplinary hearing for Shudeni. Nitenge told Namibian Sun that the church rules and regulations are cast in stone and cannot be changed. Shudeni was suspended in June pending investigations which have now been completed. In May, 24-year-old Jeremiah Mushinima opened a case against Shudeni for not delivering on the promise of getting him a job on the police force. Mushinima was arrested last month for theft after Shudeni opened a case against him for taking his cell phone. He was released recently on bail of 700 Namibian dollars. Now, this investigation did take quite some time. What do you make of the church's decision in this matter?
The church obviously took its time to analyze the situation and investigate whether the claims were actually legit, which is why they're only coming out now with this decision, which is commendable because you don't just rush and make a decision because you don't know the legitimacy of these claims. So after thorough investigation, they found that obviously the best decision was to let this pastor go, and that is how it unfolded. And I think this is definitely justice for the victim who has suffered allegedly at the hands of this pastor. So I understand he has opened a case, and hopefully the law will take its course as well.
Well, let's see.
But it's also, sorry, Glenn,
Yeah.
it's also interesting to see that in the story they mentioned that the victim has actually stolen the perpetrator's
Exactly,
phone,
so that's
which
why I
means
was
that
like,
they still have
there is a lot
communication
going
of
on in
some
that
sort.
story. Yes.
So that's interesting, but obviously I think that's more for the law to investigate.
Well, I can't wait to see how this story develops further, because I think there's a lot of upended questions, in the story. Moving on, in an effort to address the town's housing backlog, which stands at around 2,500, the Ondangwa Town Council yesterday handed over 231 allocation letters to beneficiaries. The plot situated at Omashaka proper settlement will be leased at a cost of $105 million per month. A joyful event which saw hundreds of landless people get an opportunity to own land and construct their dream houses, earmarked for low-income earners. The beneficiaries are given 3 months in order to put up a structure or risk the plot being revoked. The beneficiaries will only be given title deeds once the area has been formalized. Namibian Sun understands that the process of formalization has commenced, but it is at an infant stage. Omashaka proper was serviced at a tune of 4.3 million Namibian dollars, whilst other towns are faced with issues of illegal occupation of land. Ondangwa Town Council does not experience such incidents. Now, would you say Ondangwa seems to be solving the housing crisis, and would you say that other towns in Namibia can maybe implement the methods that they are using to address the housing crisis in the country?
The hands-on approach of Ondangwa is definitely one that needs to be replicated by other towns as well, because we see mushrooming of informal settlements, people building up structures where they're not supposed to. But at the end of the day, you need to understand the underlying issue, which is the housing crisis that Namibia is facing. So if you come up with solutions to these problems, then you, at the end of the day, kind of you get rid of this issue. So I think it's very interesting what they're doing, and I appreciate that they're actually taking into account that people cannot afford houses. They're not living in informal settlements just to make the lives of the municipalities and town councils a living hell, but because they obviously have no other choice. So for the municipality to come through with such a solution, or the town council rather, is commendable.
Yeah, 105 Namibian dollars per month. That is amazing.
And this is not one person, this is an entire family whose life you're touching.
Now moving on, the total number of animals auctioned in the past quarter of 2023 increased by 15.2%. Do stay tuned with Sunset News for an update on this story.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
Getting into our economic news, the total number of animals auctioned in the past quarter of 2023 increased by 15.2% to 92,881 animals from 80,626 animals auctioned in the corresponding quarter of 2022, the Namibia Statistics Agency says. Prices across all types of livestock depicted declined during the quarter under review. Goats recorded at $29 Namibian and 88 cents per kilogram, a 21% reduction, followed by cattle, which posted at $27 Namibian and 55 cents per kilogram, a reduction of 15.5%, whereas sheep recorded at $30 Namibian and 14 cents per kilogram. Let's take a look at our financial indicators. The Namibian dollar trades against the British pound at 23.75, against the euro at 20.48, against the US dollar at 18.66. 2 Namibian dollars and 62 cents gets you 1 Chinese yuan. On the commodities market, all major commodities went up, with Brent crude oil trading at 0.43%, going for $76 and 98 cents per barrel. President Vladimir Putin on Thursday described the situation in the Gaza Strip as a catastrophe unfolding on a scale that could not be compared to the Ukraine conflict. More details coming up in the international news segment. Getting into our international news, President Vladimir Putin on Thursday described the situation in the Gaza Strip as a catastrophe unfolding on a scale that could not be compared to the Ukraine conflict. Putin, whose government has maintained ties with Hamas and Israel, gave the comments during a news conference in Moscow as his full-scale military intervention against Kyiv approaches the 2-year mark. Everybody here and around the world can see and look at the special military operation and at what is happening in Gaza and feel the difference, he said, using the Kremlin's name for its conflict in Ukraine. But there is nothing like this in Ukraine, he added. The war between Israel and Hamas, now in its 3rd month, began after the October 7th attacks on Israel by Palestinian militant group Hamas, which Israel officials say killed 1,200 people, mostly civilians. It has left besieged Gaza in ruins and killed more than 18,600 people, mostly women and children, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Now, Russia has, since February 2022, systemically targeted Ukrainian cities with missiles and drones and occupied large swaths of the south and east of the country following fierce hostilities. The UN has said that more than 10,000 civilians have been killed in Ukraine, warning that the real toll is likely to be much higher. Now, this is definitely saddening because a catastrophe is a catastrophe. We cannot compare that this one is better than the other one.
Certainly, and I feel that international bodies keep pointing it out, but at the end of the day, nobody is intervening. Palestine doesn't really have allies. Nobody is willing to take in their refugees and so forth. So it is very, very sad.
It is very sad. Now, moving on to our next story, Hong Kong police on Thursday issued bounties of $1 million Hong Kong dollar for each of 5 activists accused of national security crimes and currently living overseas, adding they would be pursued till the end. Now, all 5 are living abroad after Beijing imposed a sweeping national security law on the financial hub in 2020 to quell dissent after massive and at times violent pro-democracy protests. All of them who have already fled overseas have continued to commit offenses under the national security law that seriously endanger national security, said Chief Superintendent Li Wah of Hong Kong National Security Department. He added that they betrayed their country, betrayed Hong Kong, disregarded the interests of Hong Kong people, and continue to endanger national security even when abroad. Now, after this short break, we'll be getting into our weather predictions. Do stay with Sunset News.
We've always had the bravery to stand up for what is Namibian, from protecting our homes to fighting injustices. We still celebrate what it means to us and raise a glass to those who show their bravery. No matter how they take on the world, with all this potential in the land of the brave, what will you do to make this Namibia your Namibia?
Let's take a look at our weather predictions. Katima Mulilo can expect some showers with a minimum of 20 degrees and a maximum of 34 degrees Celsius. Oshakati can expect partly cloudy conditions with a minimum of 25 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 35 degrees Celsius. Hendy's Bay can also expect partly cloudy conditions with a minimum of 15 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 19 degrees Celsius. Rehoboth can expect a minimum of 19 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 35 degrees Celsius. We now take a look at the sports news courtesy of Sports Reps, and a little bit after that, Yolanda Nell will keep us updated on what's happening on Fitters in the Namib.
Welcome to Sports Wrap for Sunset News. Let's get into our stories. Namibia Football Association Acting Secretary General Joachim Trout said a budget request of 40 million Namibian dollars was submitted to the government for Namibia's participation in the Africa Cup of Nations next year in Ivory Coast. However, on request from government, they have had to rework the budget and are now looking at cutting the request to 25 million. The latter amount is only to cover the cost of the Brave Warriors in the 3 group stage matches. Now, if the Warriors happen to progress from the group stages, expenses will surge. So far, the Warriors have received 2.4 million Namibian dollars in funding, 2 million from MTC, 100,000 Namibian dollars each from the Roadfront Administration and the National Housing Enterprise, 150,000 Namibian dollars from the Dr. Hage Geingob Cub, and 50,000 from the Special Risk Insurance Association. Maximum effort will be required from the toughest and most durable, those with ambition to emerge as winners at the 2-day Fittest in the Namib event in Swakopmund today and tomorrow. A total of 44 teams and 15 individuals have entered the prestigious CrossFit event at the coastal town, where contenders from clubs from Windhoek and all across the country will be represented. The inspiring and spectator-friendly nature of such events, as well as the encouragement to bring the gears to the great sporting venues at the mall and the SFC Sports Club, will ensure holiday makers some good entertainment. Along with the earlier King's War held in Windhoek, Fittest in the Namib is among the most competitive annual events in the country. We don't have any foreign entries this time like we had last year, but the local entries are still pretty representative with a good level of experience, Patrick De Hood, a member of the organizing committee, said. The under-15 Namibian girls national side collected 3 points in their first match against Zambia, and this was yesterday in the COSAFA qualifier for the CAF African Schools Football Championship in Harare, Zimbabwe. In the second match, the junior girls played to a 0-0 draw against Madagascar. Head coach Mami Kasawona was pleased with the results, as Zambia did not turn up in time for the match. There is more to do. The girls are ready, and we are looking forward to a challenge. I have to thank the member associates, the Namibia Football Association and CAF, she said. Now, in the boys category, Namibia played to a 2-0 win against Madagascar and collected points against Zambia. Those have been our sports stories. Enjoy the weekend.
It's that time of the year where we will see who is the fittest in the Namib. Maximum effort will be required for the toughest and most durable, those with ambition to emerge as winners from the 2-day Fittest in the Namib event taking place in Swakopmund. A total of 44 teams and 15 individuals have entered the prestigious CrossFit event at the coastal town, where contenders from clubs from Windhoek and all across the country will be represented. The inspiring and spectator-friendly nature of this event, as well as the encouragement to bring the gears to the great sporting venues at the Mola and the SFC Club, will ensure holidaygoers some good entertainment. Along with the earlier King's War held in Windhoek, the Fittest in the Namib is amongst the most competitive annual event in Namibia. Organizer Patrick De Goede expects the team categories to be well contested. The individual male to beat would likely be the 17-year-old Mika Peltzler, who was the third fittest in Africa in the teen division aged 16 to 17 years. He also achieved a third place in the under-21 competition in Egypt last month. In the Masters and Scale division, less skilled athletes will be allowed to downscale certain movements, but will also be moved down the leaderboard accordingly. FNB Namibia is again the main sponsor, along with the Trans partners, with Dio Pharma as a supporting sponsor. The much sought after prizes that awaits the winners include nights of accommodation at lodges and hotels, as well as vouchers from various tourist destinations or other goods and service providers that will drive competitors to give their best.
And with that, we conclude the end of the show. Thank you so much, Esther Kamati, for coming on and showing, or at least telling us a little bit of your 2 cents.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
From me, Glenn Rashipura, until next time.